Takes so long sometimes for it to connect. Yeah, I'm having trouble. Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to Kaleidoscope of the Arts. I'm one of your hosts, Marie LaBrosse,
And I'm Dee Dee Gozion.
and we are grateful to have you here with us today. And today we are really honored because we always have once a month a special co-host with us, and we're going to bring him right up with us to begin with, Dee Dee.
Excellent.
Hi, Jim. And we have Jim Shirley. Jim Shirley is the executive director of the Arts and Cultural Alliance of Sarasota County. After all this time, Jim, I got it right.
You did.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. And if you go to sarasotaarts.org, you actually is it .org? Get to your website.
Yes.
Okay. And Jim also comes in once a month and co-hosts with us, but he's actually the Chamber of the Arts for the area, for Sarasota County, Manatee County, and then a few other places in between. He's the man. So if you ever want to know the man, Jim Shirley is the man. He has connections to anybody in the art industry in the area. And we are so grateful that he comes and co-hosts with us once a month, right, Dee Dee?
Absolutely. Brings us wonderful shows.
Yeah, and he actually has bringing so much good talent to our stage, to the radio station. And not only that, we've learned so much about all the different art entities out in the world. Before we bring on your special guest, who we're so looking forward to having on today, I want to mention that the radio station, you're listening to us on WKDW 97.5 FM, Rural Community Radio, out of Northport, Florida, from the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we all are also all volunteers. So any of us that you ever see on the radio, on streaming and that, we're volunteering. We're giving up our time to actually give different entities voices out there. And we are an eclectic radio station, so you can hear from the 30s music all the way up to modern day. You can also hear old time radio, the old radio shows and that, and all the political stuff from all different venues. But I don't get into that, Jim. That isn't my deal. That isn't my deal.
Smart move.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that. At part of the radio station is Common Grounds Meeting Hall. That's actually how we raise some of our money to keep in operation. Like I said, we're an all volunteer place, and every Wednesday night they have open mic night, and we stream it, like we're streaming right now, but it's also aired online at kdwradio.com, but it's also on the radio on WKDW 97.5 live, and then it's streamed to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So for anybody out there to try to get their music and talents out there, and they'll even do comedy if you want to do a comedy stand-up or that, keep it clean. It's on radio. We're under FCC regulation. But you're able to get your face out there and your voice out there. And I don't know if you can get that most places. Can you, Jim?
Not many. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So we're trying to give everybody a platform. Our mission statement is building community through open communication, and that's what we do. Now, Dee Dee, we're going to go over to the Northport Arts Center real quick. Anything going on this next week?
This next week, we have a free paint party from Sunshine Senior Services Saturday, 2:30 to 4:30. Everybody's invited, and it's sharing art with the community and no charge.
Okay, and how do you sign up for that?
Give me a call, 941-423-6460, and I'll sign you up.
Okay, well, I'm going to actually put Jim's stream on the bottom here in case you ever want to get a hold of Jim. It's streaming across the bottom, sarasotaarts.org, and info@sarasotaarts.org if you want to email them, and their phone number is 941-365-5118. And a shout out to Wendy Namick Portfolio Investments. She is our sponsor, and without our sponsor, we could not actually have our programming and shows. Well, I see Jeffery Kin's in the background, messing around doing something. So we're going to bring him up into the stream. Jim, go ahead and introduce Jeffery.
Well, thank you, Marie, and thanks for the opportunity to you and Dee Dee for having us. And our special guest today is one of the people who has really been a creator, a driver, a mainstay for the arts community in Sarasota County, and really now for some time. And in different capacities as we go along. We have Jeffery Kin as our guest today. And Jeffery is currently spearheading a very exciting project for a new festival in the community, which we're going to talk about in a way. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you got to that spot too. So Jeffery, welcome and thanks for being here today.
Wow, thank you. What a treat and a pleasure. I love sitting around, and even if I'm in my kitchen, in my office, seeing fresh, friendly faces. So hello, and thanks for having me.
You know, one of the things when you say fresh, friendly faces, the arts, among everything else in our lives, are really going through a period of change, a period of redirection in many cases. Jeffery used the statement before we got on her today about the COVID wake-up call. And the arts are going through the COVID wake-up call like we all are. And one of the things I want to talk with you about today, Jeffery, is what are those wake-ups and where do you think we're going to be going and so on. But before we do that, I just want to refresh our audience. I know that a lot of people know a lot about you from the Players Theater in Sarasota, where you were the creative director, the artistic director for many years. How did Jeffery Kin get to where we are right now? What's your background, Jeffery? Let the people know who you are.
Seriously, it's a little crazy and a little corny. Seriously, I am that theater kid that grew up in the middle of cornfields in Central Ohio, that sang to the cattle when he was feeding them. I sang on the tractor. I danced in the haymow. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I think I learned to be loud just so that I could be heard. And luckily, my parents, Bob and Margaret Ann Kin, they appreciated this kid who was just, a little different. And I had teachers throughout all my years who gave me the license to be who I was. So my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Gagnon, who just passed, when it was time for a book report, I wrote a play. So there's people that kind of just guided me. And I kind of followed this journey of the arts. And Central Ohio is not known for its arts, but I kind of became the kid that was like, oh my gosh, wow, look at him. He can go on stage and he can act and he can sing and he can dance. And I went to Otterbein University in Westerville, Ohio, and had a great 4 years of learning and breaking bad habits, which is what university life does for you. Moved to New York for 5 years. I was a professional actor, but I found that I was doing shows all over the country. I wasn't doing, Broadway. I was doing great regional theater. So rather than dig my heels into living in the city, the farm kid needed some fresh air and sunshine. And what does Sarasota, Florida have except for fresh air and sunshine? So in 1991, I moved here. And
how did you find Sarasota? What was the connection?
Catherine Randazzo, who is now part of Florida Studio Theater, we went to college together in Otterbein. I was over on the other coast visiting friends, and she said, why don't you come over and do a show here at TheaterWorks? TheaterWorks was a great little company that FST has bought that building and remodeled it, and now it's pretty amazing. And then I met friends, I met family, I met future partners, and I stayed. I am a firm believer in our community, that we are unique, we're different, we're appreciated for who we are, and we have a lot to offer. And I
Absolutely.
grew. I grew. I mean, I really was just a performer. And once I moved to Sarasota, I started writing plays. I started directing. I started choreographing. I started producing. And then this level of, and then in 2007, the players knocked on the door and said, would you like to be our artistic director? And I'm like, no. I've never been an artistic director before.
Yeah.
What is it, basically? And then 15 years later, 15 years.
15 years, that's amazing. And how you I think about coming, it's one thing to entertain the cows and the haystacks, in the field. And then you slide through New York, where every aspiring actor wants to go. But then you come to Sarasota as an actor, and all of a sudden you're being tapped as a creative director. Do you have any idea what they saw in you that would make them think you could do that?
I have one great quality. I can use both sides of my brain. So I'm creative, but I also, having been raised on a farm and having run my own businesses, I was a house painter for many years, and run my own businesses. I can use both sides of my brain. And I got to tell you, that is a challenge for some creative people to have the ability to look at, Excel spreadsheets and figure out, finances. And then sometimes it's just the opposite. It's hard for financial people to understand the arts. So I think, if anything, there was a little bit of both, that I was able to kind of walk that center line, and with common sense. And I always add common sense because it's not that common. So I think I had some qualities that were needed at the time. And then I feel like I used those 15 years to the best of my ability. And I did my best to further my organization and to get that mission out there. And then, what does COVID teaches us? Sometimes we have to step back, look at our lives. What are we doing? What do we want to do? And then sometimes you have to open up your life to the universe and say, what's next?
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah, I'll be darned. I think when you were an actor, you had roles to play, scripts to read, memorize, etc. But when you become a creative director, meaning the keyword director, all of a sudden you've got to direct people, time frames, situations. Was that a challenge in the transition for you?
Jesus, Jim, what a great question. Literally, I remember stepping out of my car in the Players parking lot on July 3rd, 2007. I remember it clearly. I slammed the door of my car. I looked at that building and I said to myself, well, this is going to be a cinch.
Hello, world.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I learned so much. And the interesting thing is, over the years, my priorities of, what do? You choose the shows, you hire the directors, you're the creative control, you're out in the community. And I kept looking at my list of what I do for a living at the theater. And it was very interesting at some point when it was coming time to, everyone has to do that. Well, what happens if you leave? So what do you do? And I remember writing down my list of choosing shows, everything I just said. And at the last thing I said, create an environment that everyone wants to be a part of. The audience wants to be there. The actors want to be there. The directors want to be there. And then, you know what I did? I took number 12 and I moved it to number 1. And that was a big lesson when I realized what I was really doing was creating an atmosphere for creatives, for patrons, for donors, for everyone to feel like they have a piece of something, that they have a place to go, that they have a place to express themselves. And what a great epiphany that was to realize is that my biggest job is to just create a great place that people want to go to.
Right. And that is amazingly difficult because of the versatility required to do it. Even in dealing with a patron and a donor, a heavy donor. Sometimes they're one and the same, and sometimes they're not. But when you're looking on the side of being able to fund productions, being able to raise the money to make all of this happens, that's not a skill that a lot of actors take as something that I do all the time, and I can imagine making some of those transitions were interesting for you.
And honestly, there was a part of me for years that was like, oh, development, that's not me. That's not me. And then I think it was Morgan Gerhardt, who was my great cohort at the Players for many years in marketing and fundraising, who basically said, Jeffrey, you fundraise every day. You just don't know it. Yeah. Every time you talk to somebody, every time you share the joys of what you do, every time you go on the Suncoast View and you say, hey, this is what we're doing, you are fundraising because people are understanding, you're helping people understand the need for community theater. And I got to tell you, just because I left community theater doesn't mean that I am not a full 100% proponent of what a community theater does for a community. And the Players was the oldest performing arts organization in Sarasota. So I kind of feel like we started it all and that we deserve some kudos for that, even now.
Yeah. Well, they do. And you certainly earned a whole lot of them for them in that 15-year period of time. Because we watched the Players develop from what I felt was a really good community theater to almost becoming a pretty damn good professional theater that happens to be a community theater. That's a big transition. That's a real difference. Yet maybe for our listeners, how would you best describe the difference between equity theater and community theater? What does that mean when you're in the theater world?
Well, obviously, professional theater, like the amazing places like Florida Studio Theater, West Coast Black Theater, Troupe the Oslo, all those are professional performers. They're like me. Those people went to New York. They went to Chicago. They went to LA. They are professionals. They get a paycheck. This is their job. That's all they have to do is show up at 6:30, perform, and then they're done. Community theater is different because these people are all volunteers. And those folks, like at the Players or Venice Theater or Manatee Players, they are there just to share their talent. So I actually had somebody say to me, we did our production of Chorus Line was now 10 years ago. Someone came to me and said, Jeffrey, why did I enjoy a community theater's production of a Chorus Line better than the last tour I saw? And I thought for a second, and I had a great answer. I said, when you saw that tour, those people were doing their jobs. When you saw our production, you had actors living out a dream. This was their dream to be Cassie. This was their dream to be Sheila. There's a difference between a paycheck and a dream. And that's what community theater gives you, is these are folks that are living out their dreams. And that's why sometimes, not always, but we can elevate ourselves and be right up there with the pros just because the right people at the right time with the right direction can really focus that energy and make it happen.
Yeah. And I want to take a little segue on that because I know that Players Theater and all of our arts and cultural organizations in Sarasota County pride themselves on not only providing whatever their entertainment is, but also in working with the kids in our school systems. And, if you think about the impact that the arts have for kids in schools, in many ways, some of those kids get to live out their dreams. Just like athletes, the football players, the basketball players, it's not reading, writing, arithmetic. It's what else I do when I'm not doing that stuff over there.
Right.
And any feeling about the importance of the arts in education and why we need to continue to support that?
I lived it for years, and to watch these kids, and here's the scary thing, guys. A lot of my kids are now graduating college. So these cute little kids that were running around doing Players kids shows. Hi, Mr. Jeffrey. Now, they're adults and having children. And it's like, I have watched the shy child whose parents are like, they need an outlet. They need a thing. I've seen them go from, I can't speak in front of people, I can't go on stage in front of people, I can't go on. And then over a course of a year or two, the next year, they're the lead in a play. They're a lead in a thing. What happened? Well, I think what happened was teaching a song, a dance, a movement is one thing, but you're learning a lot more. You're learning how to get along with others. You're learning spatial differentiation. You're reading. You're learning all these other things all at the same time. So you are being educated when you're in the arts. It is just done in a different way. So there are folks that think mathematically, there are folks that think creatively, and I'm so happy that over the years we were able to help so many students think kind of like I did. You know, I was good in classes, but the arts is how I spoke. My 10th grade English teacher, when he said that we needed to read Flowers for Algernon, asked me to stay afterwards, and instead of me reading the novel, he handed me the play.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about Mr. Walton, who knew in the 10th grade that I was going to get more out of the play than I would get out of the novel?
Yeah.
So once again, people pinpointing, helping, pushing, and helping kids grow. I was there. Yeah. We were all there once.
Yeah, I'm going to interject just a minute here because I developed the Kids on Stage program in Charlotte County. And one of the things that I learned about teaching kids is you're absolutely right, Jeffrey, to take that child, and not everybody's an athlete, not everybody's a science major or a math major. However, the creative side of that child or that child that doesn't fit in someplace, you teach them, at least I did, to become the character. They are not them going on stage. They are the character. That takes that child and gives them permission to be somebody else when they're on stage, and they then become that child, that character. And if you notice, some of the actors that you hear about being famous, they're shy in real life. They're not that person that you see on stage, and to give them permission to become that, I think that with the creativity. And truthfully, when we were shut down for COVID, what did everybody do? They started to look at the creativity. They painted, they did the visual art, they also did the creative art. They learned how to use virtual to be able, and people were binge watching. I've never watched so much TV in my life. And then I started, and you know, Jeffrey, I think when, because you're a director, in your brain, when you see different things, you become critical. You become the critic that you're sitting there and watching, even for angle shots, because I've done a little bit of film stuff. And I'm going, okay, no, they could have done that better. And I have a friend whose son is an executive producer. He was for Dancing with the Stars and for those different things. Yeah, he did The Voice. He did American Idol. He's there's a new program with Jimmy Fallon. He's an executive producer for that. Well, when they were doing Dancing with the Stars, his mom and I go, Elsie, I can't watch that show. The camera angles are all over the place. It's crazy. So she said, yeah, I noticed that. So she went and told her son they changed the camera angles because we were sitting back watching, and his mother said, hey, I have a friend that's saying this. And they did, and it actually became better. And I said, they're zooming all over the place. You know, you got to look at the audience. But I've had friends, and it's not about me, this is about you, but I've had friends that have come to the Oslo and even up on Broadway, and they've asked me, because a lot of times people schmooze, and if somebody asks me a direct question, I have a problem about lying about it. And I think you are like that too, Jeffrey. If you don't want to really know the answer, don't ask the question. And so I've had, when they were doing Bonnie and Clyde, my friend I knew pretty much all the people that were the main people that were putting that together. And they asked me, well, what do you think? I said, you have too much sex scenes in there. You want to have this where you can bring, too much innuendos in this. You need to cut that out because you're going to turn away audience like me. I would never go see it again. So, and when they went to Broadway, one of my friends that was part of the production, he said, we listened to that. We were getting a little bit of feedback about that, and we cut it out. I said,
Okay.
you don't need that. You don't need that in there. So
what
anyhow,
what a great world we live in, where we can
Yeah.
talk to people and they listen.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So enough about that. I'm off the screen now. Well, I'm still on the screen. I just
All right,
wanted to
Well,
say
we're,
about
we're going to come back over and focus on the bigger classroom right now. And, we got a guy that we're talking to that started out in the cornfields, and then he moved to New York on the stage. And then he came to Sarasota as an actor, and then he became a creative director. And all of a sudden, there's another change on the horizon for Jeffery, something that I think is going to be very important and very impactful for this community. And Jeffery, what is your new position? Would you tell the audience what you're up to these days?
So I left the Players Center in January of this year, and in October of last year started a brand new organization. We call it Sarasota Rising. Sarasota Rising is the parent company. I am the executive director. We are an organization that will create an arts-centric festival, an arts celebration for our cultural coast. So even though there's Sarasota in the title, because that's where we kind of live, this is a regional arts festival that will help shine some light on what we have. Some people know who we are. Some people understand that this region of our, and I hate cities and counties, and I don't like borders at all. So we're not paying attention to borders and county lines and city lines. This is something where Sarasota Rising, it's all boats rise. We are, and I have been meeting with all the arts organizations in our region. We are going to combine our efforts for a week in 2024. So we have a little bit of time, but there's a lot of work to do when you're starting from scratch, where the arts groups, the museums, the hotels, the restaurants, everyone comes together and we create a impactful tourist-driven event that starts to give some of the notoriety to our region for what it is. So it's a challenge, obviously. There's not been anything like this, but what we've had were some business communities and business people in the area say, why not? So that's a great little picture there of me and my startup team. This is a group of people, like there's 8 of us. We sat in a room in October and said, who are we? What are we? What are we going to do? Why are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? And literally, there's nobody that's a part of any single arts organization, but literally all we talked about was, what are we going to be? We created a mission statement, a vision statement, a value statement. We created an organization. We haven't even named this festival yet, but first things first, who are we? So Sarasota Rising is a parent organization. I'm very proud to be under the auspices of the Arts and Cultural Alliance. Jim kind of came to our rescue because it's a challenge when you have someone literally saying, here, start this, but you don't have a bank account. You don't have a 501c3. You don't have any way of starting that business. But luckily, Jim and the Arts and Cultural Alliance have done it before, and they stepped in. And so now Jim gets to see me a couple of days that I spend in the offices there, working alongside with them and trying to create something special and unique, engaging, and inclusive for our area.
Well, Jeffrey, we've both been around a long time now, and there have been some attempts at festivals in the past, and then we do have some very, very successful festivals going on. I think of the Chalk Festival and, all of those types of things that we do. What's going to be different about this? What are you trying to create? And how did you get to this point? Who said we need a festival, and how did we get here?
Well, it's very interesting because Dr. Mark Kaufman actually owned the studio that the Players had, and we had a window issue. So I went to talk to Dr. Kaufman about this window issue. And after that, he said, Jeffrey, do you have an extra minute? I said, sure. He said, you know everybody in town. You're going to help me find this person. I need somebody who's conscientious, is a self-starter, understands the arts. I need someone that understands how to produce. They've got to be able to collaborate with the other arts groups. So Dr. Kaufman talked for about 3 minutes about all the qualities that he felt it would take to start a business initiative to spur the arts to work together. So this isn't an arts group saying, hey, we're going to do this and you can join us. This is a business initiative saying, hi, this is who we are. Let's build a big table and sit around it and create something organic that's natural where all boats rise.
Yeah.
I did at some point in that conversation raise my hand. And I said, Dr. Kaufman, you're describing me. And that is exactly what happened last August. And that's how the whole situation. He goes, Jeffrey, you would be the perfect person. I would love, can I introduce you to the DID board? So it was the Downtown Improvement District that is this beautiful commission that's just under the city commission. They do a lot of amazing things for the community that people don't know. The lights on the trees downtown, the flower baskets, the cleaning of some of the alleys and things. So the Downtown Improvement District, forked over basically my salary for a year and said, Jeffrey, make it happen.
And I think that what you're saying there, to me, the significant thing is so often we love and appreciate the arts for the arts, but a lot of people do not understand what type of economic impact the arts have on our community. I think the key word you said was this is a business initiative that has been thought about and being driven by the business community to use the arts to help to continue to drive the image of this wonderful community that we live in as a community of the arts, a community of creatives, and therefore it's going to help our economy continue to grow. I think that's the big difference in what I've seen in the past in some groups saying, well, we want to do a festival, and a community saying, we realize how important the arts are to Sarasota County and our surrounding Gulf Coast community. The one we brand now as the Cultural Coast. And to be able to have the business community say to the arts community, we need this, I think is tremendous. I think it's unique. And, this sounds a little bit like, I know some people out there are probably familiar with the Spoleto Festival in South Carolina. Some people maybe in the world have seen the great Edinburgh Festival that happens in Scotland. And these are not just a festival, these are economic happenings. And are you trying to go after something like that? Is that what you're talking about?
It really is. Jim, that sounds so simple and it sounds so easy. So yes, that's exactly, it really is it is a little bit of a no-brainer. It really is us uniting for that week. It is getting us on the map. It is helping cultural tourism. It's helping Visit Sarasota understand that there's more to who we are when we stand together. There is a National Association for Community Theaters. There are leagues for professional theaters. We are basically creating a league of Sarasota arts groups and periphery. You can't really, is the circus an arts group? Of course it is. They're not a theater, but they're an art. The museum, the Sarasota has so much, so unique. And not even talking about the weather and sports and an amazingly beautiful downtown district and the bayfront that they're working on. There's all these little initiatives. If we kind of come together And I'm going to sound like a farm kid from Ohio and be a little Pollyanna, because I am. If we all come together, if we join forces, if we, again, build a big table that we can all sit around, all boats will rise. This initiative will take off. Who we are the first year might be a wonderful celebration of the arts. You know, we would like to be big, but you know what? We've got to pace ourselves. Every year, our plan is to be a little bigger, a little grander, a little bolder, and make sure that this is a growable, sustainable business venture that helps all the arts in the area, all of our communities come together. And it does sound a little simplistic, but maybe a little juvenile, but I still feel that when you organically bring people together to work together, it works. And so that is, I would say, if I had a focus or a mantra, it's if that is all boats rise. We will make this happen. And there's a great possibility and great potential when people come together and work together.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know for a fact that you are working with, interviewing, talking with all the various arts organizations, meaning visual arts, performing arts, literary arts, every type. But then you talked a little bit about this startup team that you have and the eclectic nature of that team. Could you kind of describe some of the types of people that are on that team helping you look at this right now?
Yeah, I have an ex-city commissioner. I have an amazing Brazilian artist. I have a social, was a nurse. She was a nurse for many, many years. I have a Ringling student. I have a documentary filmmaker. I have a waiter / poet, and he seems to be the kind of the heart of things. We just added a wonderful person by the name of Ariane Dart, who is a great leader in our community who wanted to join forces with us. So literally, it is in a room full, an entrepreneur, Jazzy McAllister, just a great entrepreneurial type. So it really is a group of people who maybe you would not see in a room together, but I actually did that intentionally so that you get this conversation about what we like, what I like, what they like. There's some intergenerational differences, which is kind of interesting. It came up at our meeting last night where somebody said, well, how are we going to read about this festival in a magazine? And Jazzy basically said, no, we're going to find out on TikTok. We're going to find out on Facebook. We're going to find out, so we're already learning from each other about how we think of things differently. And so that was the intent. And then I'm slowly adding people. There are people that wanted to help with marketing. So I hired Next Mark Marketing, and there's some folks that are interested in that. Fundraising. So slowly but surely, we're going to have a website. We don't have it yet. We do have that Facebook page, and we have an Instagram that I'm doing, so it's bad. So I'm going to get some professional help for that. But really, what we're trying to do is slowly, this initiative, the amount of support this initiative is going to take to work is unfathomable. It's going to take a lot of energy. It's going to take wonderful donors who can futurize and see what this is going to do without getting anything for it. I mean, I've already had a donor step up for this year. I can't thank them in a curtain speech. I can't even put them on the website. But they stepped forward and said, Jeffrey, this initiative has to happen. It has to work. Here's money. Use it and make it happen. What a glorious thing to have to start an organization with.
Yeah. Well, let me bring us down out of the clouds for a minute because I have practical myself. We're sitting here in the middle of 2022, and we're talking about having our first event, our first festival happening in 2024. And while that seems like a year and a half, if you're a school kid, in the creation of a festival world, that's about 90 seconds. So how are you going to get to the reality? What is this going to become? When are you going to start tuning in on a theme, a name? And I'm not asking for specifics because I know you don't know them all right now, but what's the plan? What's the thought process to make this work?
I thought I had so much time last October until I did a 5-year plan, and I almost cried because I realized, oh my gosh. And everyone said, oh, you have 3 years. And then the calendar changed. Oh, you only have 2 years. So really, I have used that system of what happens month to month. What are your expectations? So I'm gathering a board of directors slowly but surely. Ariane is one of my first board members, even though I don't have a board. I'm going to go through that process this summer so that by October, we are our own 501c3, and we will be acting like a lot of the other organizations in town, not just like a one-man band. And then we have events that need to help. I call them pre-festival events that we are planning to kind of help produce and put something out there so that people can get something tangible about who we are and who we will be. We also need to test our elbow room a little bit about because the festival, we're relying heavily on the arts groups and the entities in this area. That's half of our festival. The other half is us helping maybe collaborate with some of the arts groups, and then we will be producers. So and I kind of call it the icing on the cake. We'll be producing events and things as well during this festival to make sure that it's an experience. So that's the thing that I'm learning in my arts nourishment. I've been going. I leave tonight for Orlando Fringe for a couple of days. I was at Sunfest. I'm going to Spoleto. I'm going to some of these festivals this summer. I'm meeting with the creative directors. I'm learning from them how they started, how they work, their mistakes. And whenever you do that, you learn so much. You end up saving yourself so much time and money by learning from the people that have done it before you. Right. So again, I'm actually we hired a consultant who has a doctorate in festival and event management, a doctorate in a festival. And I am going back to school. I am reading books on festivals. It's a science. It is exciting. You don't know what you don't know until you dive into it. This is one of the best experiences I've ever had. I'm learning so much. And while some of my friends are retiring, that's kind of challenging. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to start a brand new business. Yeah. Good job, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that COVID has done to all of us, no matter what our areas of expertise may be, is change the way we think, the way we act, the way we can do things. And I know for an absolute fact that in the arts world, not just here in Sarasota County, but worldwide, the arts are going through a major change, a climate change, anywhere from trying to sit people down in theaters next to each other and sing through masks, and where do we go from here? And I know for a fact, because I deal with this community every day, that the Sarasota and the Gulf Coast regional arts groups are searching, they're looking, they're pivoting, they're doing all kinds of great creative things. How is this festival going to be able to help that change movement that's going on in your mind?
Well, I truly believe that people need to look forward to something. And if you think about it, all of our arts groups, we're doing a pretty good job. I mean, I'm meeting with all of them. We survived, and it was challenging. But now what's next? And I don't think there's anything, and this was a little bit of an epiphany for me as well, is that there is nothing that can elevate our entire region like this festival can. There's nothing that could really come together, bring us together, and elevate us. That's why I went with Sarasota Rising for the name. Rising, elevate, all that positive momentum. I think coming together, and that's what the arts groups did. And Jim, I know you know this, is arts groups began talking to each other about best practices. They started talking and emailing each other and having Zoom chats about, well, what cleaner do you use? And how did you use that fog machine in between your matinee performance? People shared information like they never did before. So I think the festival is kind of coming in I think it's the right thing at the right time. That's going to be able to catapult that initial conversation of sharing and caring. to a place where we're all sitting together and we can all benefit from a unique and exciting event that happens once a year. I mean, it's like Christmas for Sarasota.
Well, if we get a lot of people involved and it becomes an aspiration for lots of people, whether they're in the art world or not. And I know already that a lot of people would really like to be a part of something like this. Is there room? Are people invited to participate? How can someone get involved if they want to?
In all sincerity, it's hard to imagine me sitting in my kitchen right now in my little office that this is going to be such a big deal. But it is. It's going to be a big deal. We're going to need all sorts of energy, all sorts of brain power, muscle, money. We're gonna need it all. So I guess right now, we're working on a website right now, so I can't even offer you that. But Sarasota Rising has a Facebook page. Marie was on it. That's a great way to contact me, is through that Facebook page. My personal Facebook page, Jeffery Kin, Jefferykin. Happy to talk. There is no amount of there I am. Yeah, that looks like SRO, but that's okay. There's a Q there. Sarasota Rising. And we have a new logo that's going to be on there. It's going to be much better looking than it is now. I know. I did that myself. Terrible. But you know what? We're homegrown. What can I say? But yeah, reach out to me probably on social media and I will engage you. We have a long, I'm a farm kid. We have a long road to hoe, as my dad would say. Guys, we have a long road to hoe.
Can I ask a question right now? You're talking about fringe festivals, and somebody had asked me one time down in Punta Gorda they wanted to put this fringe festival together, and I had to do the research, and I was looking around, and it started in Edinburgh. And is that what you're looking at? Is doing pop-ups too, where people can do pop-ups around? You don't know where the things are going to happen. They just all of a sudden, you got to be at that. You got to be there. If you want to be, that's so exciting because you never know where it's going to happen.
And talk about a great area to do things like that. When you have places like historic Spanish Point, when you have places like the Polo Grounds, we have all this ground everywhere in our community, and we have great buildings. And so, yes, this will be a downtown-centric festival. I can see stages and closing down a street and having a great Saturday where, people are performing but then having those creative experiences, one of a kind, you can't find anywhere. That's what's going to separate us from coming to Sarasota at any other point. But maybe
you could do a geocache. I'm thinking outside the box here, but you could do a geocache or like the Pokemon Find, and that's how you would find where the event's going on. At that time, you'd have to. Yeah, really good, Jeffrey. I'm going to shut up now.
No, they're literally all these ideas. We're talking about them daily. And as we start getting closer and closer, you'll start seeing more specific things. You'll see the naming of the festival this summer. You'll see dates this summer. We're going through the city right now to make sure that we're compliant with, their timing and safety. Surprisingly, every course that I'm taking online and all my books all starts with being safe and egress and all that. And so, yes, as creative as I want to be, I also want to make sure we do it right, so that we have a great experience for everybody on all levels. It's a lot.
Several years ago, one of the smartest people I know and one of the real leaders in our arts community, Bruce Rogers, who helped found the Hermitage Artist Retreat, said to me, he said, Jim, if you really want to build an organization, if you want to build a community, come up with a big idea, a bold idea, and let people find a way to become a part of it. This sounds like to me, Jeffrey, that you're pushing a big idea here. I think you may be doing some of the right things, because one of the things that we need to come out of the doldrums of COVID is a belief and a working toward making the world back to what we call normal, making it better, making it a way out. And I feel that you're onto something here, you and the DID and all of your team. And I wish you the best of luck in getting it done. And we're here to support you 100%. But a big, bold idea is really what we need right now. And I think you're onto it.
I used to have this saying when I directed a show, go big or go home.
Exactly.
So now maybe I have to live by my own words.
That's right. And you're doing it.
Thank you,
Marie,
sir.
did you have a comment to wrap us up here?
Well, I just wanted to say it was such a pleasure to actually have you on today as a co-host, Jim, but also Jeffery Kin, because he brings such energy to the stage, and this is our stage. And not only that, what a unique, so much fun idea, because Sarasota Rising can include the whole county. I know that you're going to keep it there, but Sarasota it can include, and when you were talking about the Hermitage, when I'm looking at this, because I didn't know exactly what you were trying to get planned here, and going through this, Jeffery, OMG, you have all the tools. You have New College, you have Sarasota, you got the high school, you got the Sarasota Art. You have everything to create a go-to place that people will start booking in advance to be in Sarasota that week. So kudos to you.
Borderless, no counties, regional, cultural coast.
There you go. There you have it. Thank you guys for all coming on with us today. I'm one of your hosts today, Marie LaBrosse.
And I'm Dee Dee Gozion.
With our co-host, special co-host, Jim.
The Arts and Cultural Alliance.
And with our special guest, Jeffery Kin from Sarasota Rising. Watch out, people, because we are going to be in Sarasota County, in Sarasota, the city of Sarasota, the place that national, international maps are in, festivals are going to be looking at. So that's the place to be that week. So kudos to you all.
Absolutely.
You have been listening to WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio out of Northport, Florida, which is in Sarasota County in Florida. And we'd like to take this time to thank you for the privilege of you listening to our show, because we have many choices in life, and that is one of them. And also to be kind or not to be kind. What should we always choose, Dee Dee?
We always choose kindness.
Thank you all, and have a great day. See you again next week on Kaleidoscope of the Arts.